Where the people with the judgmental spirit? At least I'm able to talk about it.
The church and Christianity is the only place you can get robbed and nobody call the police.
LeAndria Johnson is on Creflo Dollar's case again, and this time, she's calling him out for being a thief with a capital T. And she's not just flinging some random he said, she said stories around. LeAndria came through with receipts proving that Creflo Dollar has been stealing from his congregation and using the money to fund his lavish lifestyle. Not only that, but she also believes he's a fake pastor with no calling whatsoever. Well, unless he was called to lead the believers into poverty by taking and taking from them till they're completely dried up. LeAndria did not come here to play, guys. She's bringing all the heat, so you better get seated while we dive into this.
You can blackball somebody else. You can blackball some other weak ass nigga. I ain't weak. You can blackball me if you want to. You can try it. Oh no, I'ma still be booked. I'ma still make my money.
See, LeAndria Johnson has since made it clear that she is not one of those gospel singers who look the other way when pastors are stealing from their congregation just so they don't rock the boat. No. LeAndria will drag any pastor she sees being shady, no matter who they think they are, and she's going to call them out by their full government name, which is exactly what she did with Creflo Dollar. At first, LeAndria tried to keep it classy by calling out pastors in general for the way they manipulate their congregation for money while dangling their own wealth in front of their faces, along with the hope that they, too, can make it one day.
Things happen. God knows, y'all, I ain't gonna lie. This time, I didn't expect that. I didn't expect it. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Whoa, wait a minute. What are you doing?
Don't get it twisted. LeAndria wasn't saying all that just to stir the pot. She has been very open about her own struggles, too. She kept it real about her addiction and struggles with faith.
Hey, everyone, to all of my family, my friends, and my supporters. Thank you so much for your continued prayers and love. I do see all of the text messages and all of the phone calls. I'm just taking this time now to just really just woosah. And if y'all know me, like you know me, you know that this is a daily walk, and this has been a daily walk for me for some time now. And I'm yet still growing. So to Larry Reed, thank you so much for waiting to contact me to get it from me, opposed to everybody else just putting out what they want. Thank you, and I appreciate you and your fans. So just keep me lifted, and I'm gonna get through this. Love you all. Bye.
So, when it comes to calling out corrupt pastors, she does not hold back. LeAndria's main concern with Creflo Dollar was that he misused his power for personal gain. Creflo Dollar is as big as any other mega pastor. With a congregation nearly 30,000 strong, he is the spiritual leader and founder of the World Changers Church, New York. While the headquarters hosts over 6,000 members every week, the church also hosts multiple satellite churches worldwide, and Creflo manages a thriving televangelist practice. But according to LeAndria, Creflo is as fake as they come. Not only does he misuse his power and influence, he straight up robs his congregation blind every week. But how did LeAndria get all this tea about Creflo Dollar? What does she know that the rest of us don't know? See, LeAndria Johnson didn't start out as a certified hater of anything related to Creflo Dollar or mega pastors in general. She was once like any other regular Christian, trying her best to strengthen her faith and follow the Bible's teachings. From a young age, she knew she had a talent for singing, and she felt called to use that talent to spread the joy of the word and the teachings of Christ. So she naturally gravitated towards gospel music. During the early days of her career, LeAndria also struggled to balance her work with her faith. Once she saw that there was much more to being an artist than the music itself. It was around this time that she discovered Creflo Dollar. Creflo Dollar stood out to LeAndria because of his confidence and authority in his speaking. His sermons about faith and divine favor drew her in, and she came to really appreciate his teachings on success, victory, and overcoming life's trials. This was exactly what LeAndria was looking for in her personal faith journey, and she felt that Creflo Dollar was a man who understood God's purpose for her life. So she listened to him religiously, hanging on to every word he preached from the pulpit. LeAndria had always dreamed of meeting Creflo Dollar, so when the chance finally came, she did not waste any time. She had been at one of his widely attended conferences when she suddenly found herself backstage and was finally introduced to Creflo Dollar. Although she was nervous, Creflo welcomed her with open arms and made her feel like she was one of his. He told her that God had a special plan for her life, and those words stuck with LeAndria for a long time. In that moment, LeAndria believed that she had finally found where she belonged, and she felt seen and validated. It didn't take long for LeAndria to climb the ranks and become one of the trusted members of Creflo Dollar's inner circle. She started getting invited to exclusive gatherings, private meetings, and inner circle discussions that only few had access to. At the time, she felt honored, chosen, special. However, it didn't take long for LeAndria to start seeing things for how they really were. It was like someone pulled back the curtains, and for the first time, she saw what was going on with clear eyes. One moment, LeAndria trusted Creflo Dollar to lead her on her spiritual journey. The next, she was learning the ugly truth behind the flashy smiles, motivational speeches, and earnest sermons. This would change how LeAndria viewed Creflo Dollar forever. At first, the things she saw were minor and easy to overlook. How the people who were invited to these exclusive events seemed to be ones who donated the largest amounts to Creflo's ministry. How these people talked about the congregation like they were discussing livestock, not human beings. According to LeAndria, these pastors and gospel singers would openly talk about the business of faith. They weren't talking like people genuinely interested in guiding others towards the right path. They were talking like corporate bosses who needed to make as much money as possible, no matter who got burned in the process. They would share tips on how best to milk their congregations for money, and even exchange notes on manipulation tactics that had worked for them in the past. Things like fear-based sermons, promising heavenly rewards for obedience, and even pressuring people directly. According to insiders, the motto was, "These people will do anything we ask them to do as long as we can use faith to justify it." There were even claims that some pastors, including Creflo Dollar, allegedly had systems for tracking how much each member donates, and people were treated based on how much they donated. The more they donated, the closer they could get to the pastor, and the more exclusive treatments they were given. At first, LeAndria tried to rationalize it, but it got to a point where she just couldn't stand it anymore. And when she tried to speak against it, she was quickly reminded of her place. They told her that this wasn't a space where she could just say anything she wanted, especially if it would make Creflo Dollar look bad. And this wasn't just a warning, it was a threat. Say what you want and see what happens. What they were telling her, without saying out loud, was that everything she had ever worked for in her gospel music career could be taken away from her if she angered the gatekeepers. According to LeAndria, that was when she looked around and realized that other gospel singers and smaller pastors had been broken into silence. They weren't saying anything, not because they didn't know what was going on. They simply chose to look the other way because they were afraid of getting on Creflo Dollar's bad side and having everything taken from them. But LeAndria was not one to be intimidated just because she was afraid of losing her worldly possessions. She was not perfect, yes, but she believed she had a duty to open people's eyes to the corruption that was going on behind the scenes, and she didn't hold back.
Maybe I shouldn't have said I rev, nigga. I'm gonna continue being who I am, and who I am is LeAndria Johnson. And guess what? The church, you can blackball somebody else. You can blackball some other weak ass nigga. I ain't weak. You can blackball me if you want to. You can try. Oh no, I'ma still be booked. I'ma still make my money. The church, meaning whoever watching, don't bring me, cause you already know what's up. And we ain't gonna talk about those who said what they said and still brought me though, cause they wanted to get that money though. They wanted to make that crowd come up. We ain't gonna talk about that though. We ain't gonna talk about that. I ain't gonna put you on blast. Yeah.
See, Creflo Dollar is one of those pastors, like many other mega pastors, who preach the prosperity gospel. This is basically the idea that God wants everyone to be wealthy and live a soft life, and there's nothing wrong with that idea. The harmful aspect of the prosperity gospel is where it preaches that people can achieve wealth if they have enough faith and sow enough seeds. By seeds, of course, we mean money donations. The more you donate, the more likely you are to become as wealthy as God wants you to be.
Finished. God prosper me. Prospered. Finished. In other words, you it's his world and you living in it. You understand? Hey, he ain't trying to do what he's already done. He's not trying to do what he's already done. He's already done it. It's finished. Ain't nothing you can ask him for that he won't respond in the realm of the finish.
This doctrine also makes poverty a personal failure rather than a systematic one. So if you're poor, it's because you didn't pray hard enough or didn't sow a big enough seed, or you're just not a good enough believer.
Grace will provide in the midst of discomfort. And the stuff that could happen to you when you're in trouble, he ain't letting that happen. Some people go through much more, but not you. When the purpose is to mature you, he's gonna be there to make sure nothing else mess with you. He will be provision in the middle of every fiery furnace you go through.
I mean, the dangers of this kind of belief are pretty obvious. It's not a coincidence that pastors who practice the prosperity gospel are usually caught up in scandals about them ripping their followers off, stealing from them, and manipulating them through spiritual mind games. And guess what? Creflo Dollar is no exception. According to LeAndria, Creflo Dollar set his church up in a way that ensures worshipers donate money at least multiple times per week. From the very obvious large white bowls at the front of the church that are all but screaming, "Throw your hard-earned money in here," to the multiple seminars where Creflo preaches the importance of investing in the church to his congregation, it's unavoidable. But that's not all. LeAndria revealed that many of the people who Creflo manipulated into dropping their hard-earned money were barely scrapping by. Most of them live paycheck to paycheck, some are heavily in debt, while others struggle to pay rent.
If you're going to be a part of a church, be a part of a church. Meaning, if you're going to be a part of an organization, be a part of an organization. But don't take 20 years for you to have the same car your pastor got. Why you ain't got the same car your pastor got? I mean, I'm just saying, though. I'm just saying. The church and Christianity is the only, the church and Christianity is the only place you can get robbed and nobody call the police. The church is the only place you can get robbed and nobody call the police.
But what makes it even more heartbreaking is that nobody knows how this money is spent. If Creflo Dollar was collecting all this money for the benefit of the community or the congregation, it might at least be understandable. But nope. He lives a very flashy lifestyle with multiple swanky rides, properties worth millions of dollars, designer clothes, jewelry, and even private jets. Believe it or not, Creflo Dollar once scammed his congregation $65 million because God apparently ordered him to buy a Gulfstream G650, one of the most expensive private jets in the world. He literally asked his over 200,000 followers to donate $300 each to fund this project. And when he was called out, he said it was the devil that was trying to discredit him. LeAndria told one story of a single mother who was struggling to make ends meet, but would still donate all her money to Creflo Dollar's church because she believed the more she gave, the more likely it would be for her story to change. But of course, that never happened. She only got poorer, and her situation got worse. But guess what? When she turned to the church for help, she was turned away. And this wasn't the only time something like this happened. Whenever struggling members of the congregation asked for help, they were turned away and told to have more faith. They were forced to go home and keep scraping by, but this didn't stop Creflo Dollar from collecting their coins the following Sunday. According to LeAndria, she was approached multiple times to join this lifestyle and be among the so-called elites. She was also asked to share the prosperity gospel and encourage people to donate. In exchange, she was promised a cut of the donations, which would amount to millions. But it never felt right to her. She couldn't justify the idea of exploiting people's faith for money, no matter how many people tried to convince her. However, this decision came with severe consequences. LeAndria hinted at threats and intimidation. According to her, any gospel artist who tried to question the system would get blackballed, and she sadly paid the price for speaking up.
And I talked with Dr. Nichols about it, Superintendent Nichols about it. In addition to praying for her, until she gets delivered, that she doesn't need invitations. She needs to be delivered. She needs to be delivered.
At some point, the threats got so bad that she had to come out and apologize just to make it stop. A lot of people noticed her body language during the so-called apology, and they felt it was clear that something else was going on behind the scenes.
Hey everyone, this is LeAndria Johnson. Listen, I am currently in a photo shoot right now, so that's why I'm a little all dolled up. But I want to just take out this time while everybody is changing cameras and changing wardrobe to say to all of my fans that are out there who do go to church, me saying F the church, I meant to address the politics of the church. You know what I'm saying? All the little undermining things that's going on in the church that hurts people like me, people like other people who have been through a lot of things in the church, you know, Christianity. It's just a lot that's going on. So the way I said it, using the F-bomb, I apologize to the fans that of mine that do go to church. I do apologize if I offended you. Now, the politics and all of the stuff that's going on behind the closed doors, that's what I don't like, and that's what I was speaking about. I don't like that. It's not right. I think that we as a body of Christ should come together and really sit down and find out what's going on, what we could do to better the church or to better the community of the church. So with that being said, keep your girl in prayer. Love you. Talk to you later.
But it wasn't only LeAndria who faced this. Creflo allegedly has loyal spies among the congregation who report back to him whenever members start questioning his ways. These members are then kicked out of the church without explanation, and Creflo reminds the rest of the followers of obedience. LeAndria ultimately had to choose between collecting Creflo Dollar's hush money and exposing him for the liar he is, and she chose to speak up. So do you think LeAndria made the right decision to expose Creflo Dollar? And what are your thoughts on Creflo's ministry? Sound off in the comments below, and be sure to check out this next video.